Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. Okay, before I begin, I want to draw your attention to my new Halloween 2018 poster on my door back there, which I just put up last night. A couple of months ago, a gentleman reached out to me online who works in the film industry, works for a major Hollywood studio. Big fan of my channel, big fan of what I'm doing here, and he sent that over to me. So Darren, if you're watching, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. Looks great here in the home studio, and it looks great as, in addition to my backdrop for my videos. So thank you. Totally awesome, man. You rock. We've had some great conversations, talking shop, and just a really intelligent, nice guy. So again, I really do appreciate it. Now, in this video, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about a question that has been asked to me quite a bit over the last 2 weeks, ever since the Halloween 2018 trailer dropped on Friday, June the 8th. And that question basically is, Dave, did you hear that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, pitched an idea about shooting back-to-back movies, like, a sequel to, the one that's coming out on October the 19th? They have like this idea and all this kind of sequel, all this shit, right? And a lot of other channels jumped on it and talked about it. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, the same weekend, I believe, that the trailer dropped, EW, Entertainment Weekly, released an interview that they did with Danny McBride and company while they were on the set of the new Halloween film back in February, I would imagine. And so it's an interview from a few months back, but it was only released, a couple of weeks ago for obvious reasons. And basically in that interview, Danny McBride said that, yes, him and David Gordon Green have an idea for a potential sequel and a potential direction for the series. And they even pitched the idea of shooting 2 movies back to back. So they would shoot the one that's coming out now on October the 19th, and they would also shoot a sequel that could potentially come out a year later. But they halted on that idea. Blumhouse also probably was like, yeah, let's not put the cart before the horse here, guys. I don't know if that was totally their own doing, like, okay, we're going to restrain ourselves. Maybe, but who knows, right? But nonetheless, it was a smart move because you have no idea how well it's going to be received critically, financially, by the fans. We're not 100% sure yet. Now, let's start here. So people want to know my thoughts on this, right? And people have been asking me about it, and I haven't really addressed it because I didn't have a lot to say. So what I want to talk about in this video is exactly that. I want to address that question and talk about the potentiality of sequels to this new Halloween film and what it all means. Now, I've talked about sequels and the potentiality of all that in some of my other videos, but that wasn't sort of the main focus of those videos. I want this to be the main focus of this video. So let's talk about it. Okay, so this is what I have to say. Let's start here. Let's talk box office, okay? There's no doubt that this movie is going to do well opening weekend. No doubt about it. It's not only the most anticipated horror movie of the year, for sure, but it is arguably, you could make an argument that it is one of the most anticipated movies of the year. You could make that argument. And with a highly anticipated movie, there is no doubt that usually highly anticipated movies do very well opening weekend. Very well opening weekend because a lot of people go and see it because they're excited to see it. Now, when it comes to box office, and I uploaded a video probably over a year ago where I talked about box office numbers and what it all means. Just because a movie makes a lot of money doesn't mean that it was a good movie. It just means a lot of people went to see it. So the question here is not how much money. I mean, that is a question certainly for the studios and for the business side of show business, absolutely 100%. But at the end of the day, you have to keep this in mind as the casual fan or a hardcore fan or an average, moviegoer who's going to go see this film. You have to keep this in mind. The question is not how much money does it make opening weekend. The question is how many of those people that went to see it opening weekend liked it, because that's going to determine whether or not there's any repeat viewing. And it's also going to determine whether or not there's any positive word of mouth that gets out to other people. We know it's going to do very well at the box office opening weekend. Some people think, oh, it's going to do just as well as it. Okay, calm down. First of all, I don't think it's going to do anywhere near it numbers, okay? It could. Yeah, I guess it could. I don't think it's going to, and here's why. right now. Again, my views could change as we get closer to the release date, but right now, here's why. It was an anomaly in the sense of people had been waiting 31 years to see Pennywise on the big screen. Besides the miniseries from 1990 with Tim Curry, which was a loose, in terms of tone, it was not really true to the darkness of the book. And they wanted to bring that darkness of the book to the screen, which they did for the most part. I still think it could have been darker, but certainly it's a lot darker than the miniseries. People have been waiting 31 years for this moment. It is arguably Stephen King's most famous book and famous story. It is undoubtedly on the Mount Rushmore of Stephen King stories. So the anticipation was huge. And remember, it became the most viewed trailer in history with 197 million views in the first 24 hours. And it wasn't until Avengers Infinity War which broke the record. Halloween, on the other hand, has 15 million views in 2 weeks, but doesn't even crack the top 20 of all time. Now, that's nothing to sniff at, okay? That is really good for a movie of this type, for the slasher genre, okay? And it really tells Universal and Blumhouse and all the fans that, hey, this is a movie to look out for, right? But is it going to make it numbers at the box office? I'm not feeling that. I'm not seeing it. It's huge within the Halloween community. It's huge within the Halloween fan base, yes. But I don't believe it has the broader reach, the more universal reach and anticipation that it had. But it's going to do well. It's going to do well. Remember, the production budget is only about $10 million. So it's definitely going to do well. My prediction right now is anywhere between 35 and 45 mil opening weekend. Okay? Maybe just crossing 100 mil domestic by the end of its run. Now, what it has going for it right now is the fact that it's going to be the first Halloween movie released in October since Halloween 5 in 1989. Halloween 6 was released at the end of September. Halloween H2O was in the summer. Resurrection was in the summer. Rob Zombie's 1 and 2 were in the summer. This is really big. Okay, so that definitely could help it because it's Halloween time, it's the fall, we're feeling it, it's exciting, it's, Jamie Lee Curtis is back, Carpenter is back as executive producer, and the music, Nick Castle is back, all that kind of juicy stuff, right? This is going to be fun. It's going to do well. But what is the long-term longevity of its financial success? How well is it going to do the next weekend? Are people going to come out of the theater going, holy fucking shit, you got to see Halloween? Or are people going to come out of the theater going, yeah, it was good. It was all right. Would you go see it again? No, but not because it's bad. I've seen it. It's good, and that's it. I've seen it. We have to remember Halloween, as much as we're crazy about it, this isn't Star Wars, this isn't Marvel, this isn't Avengers Infinity War. It's not going to be making $280 million at the box office. It's not going to happen. I know Avengers Infinity War didn't make 280, it made 250 something. I'm just, hyperbole for the sake of argument. Now, one of the other comparisons that I see people trying to use with me is the movie A Quiet Place, right? And, A Quiet Place opening weekend grossed about $50 million. Could I see this new Halloween movie grossing $50 million at the box office? Yeah, I could see that, sure. I mean, that's only $10 million more than sort of my high point, the high point of my estimate. So yes, I could totally buy that. But the long-term success of A Quiet Place, grossing nearly $200 million domestic and over $300 million worldwide, is based largely on the movie-going experience of this movie. It was very unique, very different, right? There's hardly any dialogue in the movie. Word of mouth was circulating like wildfire saying, you guys got to go check out this movie. It's really eerie. It's really creepy. It's a pretty good movie, but the experience of watching it in a theater with a bunch of people on a 60-foot screen when there's hardly any dialogue is almost eerie in and of itself. And depending on who you are, could be annoying if you hear a bunch of, crinkling bags of popcorn. So, you have to keep that in mind that, A Quiet Place's long-term success was primarily because, yes, it's a good movie, no doubt, but the experience of watching it was unique and interesting in and of itself. When it comes to Halloween, its movie-going experience within the theater is going to be pretty standard, right? It's your it's your standard slasher flick. It's, there really isn't anything unique about the movie-going experience in and of itself. So let's talk about the question of this sequel. So what do I think about, the probability of them doing a sequel? Well, first of all, I want to say this. For those of you who have been messaging me and saying, see, Dave, I told you they were thinking about doing a sequel. I never said I didn't think they were going to do a sequel or that they wouldn't do a sequel. What I said is that I didn't want them to do a sequel. Not because I don't like or love Halloween and Michael Myers, but because I like and love Halloween and Michael Myers. I have standards. I don't want Michael Myers to become the fucking shit show and the Halloween series to become the fucking shit show it became with all the sequels that they're negating. And it's inevitable. The more sequels you do, you will get there. You will get there because the novelty will wear off, the characters will wear thin, and you're going to have to justify, you're going to have to start doing these crazy things with the character to justify why he keeps coming back. And then Michael Myers becomes the very thing you were trying to avoid by negating the sequels and doing this Halloween 2018 movie in the first place, right? Because they want to go back to the roots of the original intent of the character. That's what, Danny McBride said. He said it in a lot of interviews leading up to Principal Photography. We're going back to the roots. We're going back to the roots of the original intent of the character, which he's a mortal being. He's flesh with that slight supernatural edge, as John Carpenter said, right? He's that force of nature. You're not quite sure, but he is human. Oh, this is kind of creepy, right? So I get it. I understand why they're doing that, and I support that. So now you have this wonderful opportunity to do something really special here. Leave it as a one and done. Listen, I get that this is a business, okay? I understand that, all right? But at the end of the day, if the plan is to do a bunch of sequels, okay, but just so you know, Halloween fans, and Jason Blum, and Danny McBride, and David Gordon Green, and, those, working on these films, just as long as you know that eventually you're going to run out of fucking ideas. And Michael Myers and the series is going to become the very thing you were trying to avoid again. So I don't want this to be Halloween 2018, the beginning of another string of sequels, because it doesn't make any sense. Listen, when I read months ago that they were going back to the roots of the original intent of the character, that told me that they know, or at the very least they should know, that the character of Michael Myers has a shelf life. He's best served in 1 or 2 doses. And when you understand the original intent, and when you understand why John Carpenter killed him at the end of Halloween 2, then you get, okay, this is a guy that cannot go on and on and on and on and on because he's a mortal being with a slight supernatural edge. Listen, if you want to do a sequel to Halloween Resurrection and put Michael back into the immortal universe where he's literally supernatural and, nothing phases him and he can be blown up and stabbed and shot and have his head cut off, and I know it wasn't really his head, but I think you know what I'm saying, and you can, have his head beaten in with a pipe like at the end of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, where all this green slime is coming out, and then bring him back again. Knock yourself out, because in that universe, he's literally supernatural. But when you tell me you're going back to the original intent of the character, and you start talking about sequels and the potentiality of where you could take, the series, yeah, that leaves me a little skeptical. That leaves me a little worried, because I've had my ass burned so many fucking times with this series that I'm kind of like, okay, hang on a second here. Let's see what you got with this first movie, right? So yeah, I'm a little skeptical on that. Now, the one thing that I really do like is the fact that the brother-sister angle is no longer there. So when we're talking about sequels, when we're talking about the potentiality of where we could take the character in a sequel, I like the idea that we're no longer held to the brother-sister story arc. I like that we're no longer held to the fact that he's following his bloodline, because now, your sandbox becomes bigger and you can open the character of Michael Myers up to different scenarios and situations and things. However, you have to be very careful, because that's a very fine line you have to walk. It can be very easy to become a kid in a candy store and to get overexcited because now you have all this room to play and you lose the essence of what the character of Michael Myers is. You don't want to get too excited that you start to lose the mystique of the character of Michael Myers. He still has to be Michael Myers. But when you have all this room to play, your focus can start to gravitate towards, well, we could have him over here, and we could have him do this, and we could have him show up in this town, and we could have this protagonist, and we could have this, that you lose sight of, okay, but let's be true to the execution of this character. We still have to maintain the character of Michael Myers. So, yes, it's fun to know that he's no longer tied to this, brother-sister story arc, and he's no longer tied to necessarily Haddonfield. But we have to, let's keep our excitement in check. And if we're going to do a sequel that sort of maybe moves away from Haddonfield, moves away from Laurie Strode, we still have to deliver on the essence of the character. But, like I said, for me, the original intent of the character has a shelf life. And maybe you can get a sequel out of this that is really good, or it's connected, really well to this new film. But I don't want to see a series, guys. I don't want to see, 5 and 6 and 7 more movies, because I know we're going to be right back where we started from. And we're going to be sitting there going, how did this happen? Well, that was fucking shit. Well, the one from 2018 was really good, but fuck, that one from 2022 was just awful. And I don't want that. I don't want Michael Myers and Halloween to become that. You have an opportunity here to really go out on a high note. And that's what I think they should do. And if you want to reboot the whole thing, 15, 20 years from now, knock yourself out, but I am very skeptical. I do not believe that if you do, a bunch of sequels, that you're going to keep the integrity of the character and the quality of the character and the movies there. We don't have any evidence that that's going to happen. We have no evidence of it. The more movies you make in a series, the shittier they become. Anyways, folks, my name's Dave McRae. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. I would love to know. What do you want to see from a potential sequel to Halloween 2018? If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. McRae is MCRAE. Facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. That's where you can follow me in the meantime. And in between time, when I'm not posting here, that's where I tend to post. If you want to help support the channel each and every month via my Patreon, you can. The link is in the description. We're up to 61 patrons right now. If we can get to 100, all your names will be entered into a draw to win a 12.5-inch Lamson Michael Myers replica knife. So let's see if we can get that going before Halloween, hopefully, right? So in the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Comment below and let me know. I want to know, what do you want to see from a potential sequel? Do you want another long series? Do you want just one more? You don't give a shit whether they're good? You just want Michael Myers? I don't care if they're good. I don't give a shit if they're good. I just want to see Michael killing people. Woohoo! They're shitty. I don't care. I love 5. I love H2O. I love Resurrection. Comment below and let me know. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.